Good morning, good afternoon, boys and girls. I am going to run through some of the basics about Google Draw. Um, so if you type into Google, I'm going to pull up to this, but if you do not know how to get there, you can go to Google and type in Google Draw. And it is this first link, and it will take you right to a new blank Google drawing sheet. I'm going to start on this one where I have been. So we're going to start learning about shapes. The shapes button is right here, this little circle square button. Click on that, and then you have all of your 4 categories of shapes and different options that you have. So you have arrows. These would be a very good tool to use in your game to direct players which way to go. You could even use them as little pegs or the steps that the players step on. So arrows might be a good thing. And then call outs. These might be something where you have a little character saying, hey, go this way, or maybe you use them as roads or directions. A banner for your game could be nice as well. So I'm going to show you each one of these 3. There are equations, but they revolve around math. And if you have a use for these in your game, that's awesome. I am just not going to example those today. So starting with shapes, we will start with if you want a square game board. So if you are going to make a square game board, this shape I would recommend the most because it already has your border in it, where you can put squares in it, make it look somewhat like Monopoly or Candyland or however you are going to make this one. This is a good shape to use. Now, if I want to make the lines thinner, the frame thinner, I'm going to take this yellow ball and now mine is thinner. Okay, but since we are using a game board, I might want to have it thicker. So that is what I'm going to do here. Now, if I want to change the width, which is from side to side, I'm going to pull it in. If I want to change the height, which is up and down, I'm going to change it just like that. If you do not want to change any of those, and you want to keep the dimensions the same, you're going to go from the corners and down. My borders are still the same thickness and all of that. Now let's say I want to rotate it. You all know how to do that. Simply rotate it at the top any way you want. Now if I want to change the color, I can come up here to this fill tool and I can color this in. Let's say I want it to be yellow. Now if I want the lines to show up more, let's say I want the lines black, we'll keep them black, but I want to change the thickness of them. I go to this line here and I can change the thickness. Let's say I want them 3. So that is my shape. You can do that to all of these shapes. I'm going to make this one smaller just for size purposes. So let's move on to another shape. So arrows, these ones are kind of tricky. They have some cool things. We'll just do a normal arrow. I'm going to draw my arrow here, make it big. I'm going to fill it again here at the color. Let's make this one green, and I want the lines to be a darker green, and let's make them thick. So now with arrows, these yellow dots here allow me to shrink or make bigger the arrowhead. So I'm going to keep mine about right there. And then this yellow one down here allows me to make the body skinnier, like so, or thicker. Okay, so I'm going to keep it about the same. Again, if you want to stretch it, pull up or down. If you want to make it thicker, go to the side. If you do not want to change any of the dimensions to the corner, once again, it is the same dimension, simply smaller. Okay, so now let's talk about the call-out bubbles where we will get into text. Let's use this guy. So these are used for letting characters speak or writing words in them to let the audience know maybe a nice fact or a direction. These would be good. I want to fill this in kind of a gray, but let's definitely make the border black with thicker lines. Now, if I want to type on a shape, all I do is double click. Okay, as you can see, my cursor has popped up. Let's say, hey, don't forget to answer your question before you move. Okay, now same thing you do in Google Docs. I can change the size of the font to make it bigger, bold, italicize, underline. I don't want any of those. Maybe keep it bold. You can change the text color, of course, and then you are able to change the font. So let's say I want that in Comic Sans. So now that text will not move off of that shape. Now we're going to talk about lines. These are shapes. Shapes, you can do the same thing with all of these. Fill them in, change their dimension, rotate them, type on them, so on and so forth. We're going to talk about lines next. So I'm going to delete my shapes. So lines, this is our line button. I'm going to click down. You can see I have lines with the 2 dots on the end. Those are line segments. I have arrows, elbow connectors, curves. The curve line, this is going to be a big highlight for those of you who want a more curved board or road. And polyline, this will be huge when you're creating your own shapes or characters. And then scribble, that will be good as well. So let's talk about lines. Now, if I just want a normal line and I don't want to move it or draw it myself, I can click and it generates a line for me. And from there, I can stretch it. I can rotate it. Okay. Just by simply clicking. Again, if you want to change the color of your line, you can. You can make it thicker. You can turn it into dots and dashes. You can also put different things on the end of them. If I wanted that on one end and not on the other, that is how you could do that. I do not want that on the end, so I'm going to click that and we'll move that up here. That is just a normal line. Make sure I want it straight. And that is my line. Now I'm going to do an arrow. Again, you can click to make an arrow, or you could stretch it out yourself. So stretch that out. I want that to be thicker. And let's make this one yellow. Okay, so that is my arrow. If you didn't want to use the arrows that they already have for you, if you wanted a smaller arrow and you didn't want to change all the dimensions, this would be a good tool for you to use as well. Next, we have the elbow connector. This could also be used as a game board. If you were to, whoops, I want to delete that. If you were to stretch it out. So how you would stretch it out, take this, you can move this over, move it over here to make different things longer. You can copy it and paste it and model it on the edge here. Get it all lined up, and then you can stretch it so that it does not, it creates somewhat of a hallway. Now again, you can make these thicker by changing with this line weight is what they call it. So these are elbow connectors. Next we have the curve connector. This one will create a curved line just like that. You can change the curve going up or down, any sort of way that you would like. But keeping your curve right in the middle. Maybe you want it like that. Maybe you want a loop. So let's say you want a loop, you want to stretch it out. Okay, it will always stay curved just like that. Again, you can change the color, weight, dash it, whatever you would like with that. I'm going to erase all of this to show you the curved line for those of you that like the curved border. So you're going to go to curve. If you want somewhat of a snake path, click at the top. Then where you want it to curve again, going to click down here and it will curve for you. Curve back up and then back down and back up and click, down and click and back up and click. Now when I want to end it, let's say I want this to be the end, I'm going to double click. And that is going to be my border. Now, if I want, now I want to make, you always want to choose select so that you can move this. Now, I can make this thinner, just like that. I can stretch it as well. Let's say that's how I want it. Now, if I need it to thicken, again, you can do that as well. Change it, but I want to copy and paste that. So I'm going to take this one and line it up here. And I have my road. You are able to move it as you please. We're also going to try this with a polymer line. What you could do to close it off is take this line button, connect them here, connect them here, and you have somewhat of a board game. Okay, now the polymer line, the polymer is going to, or the polyline is going to let you create your own. So I want that to here, back to here. I've now just created my very own shape. So how this could come in handy, these you can fill, you can change the lines and weights. The other lines you cannot fill in or color. So polyline is going to be your best friend when creating your shape. Click select. I'm going to delete that. Now let's see if we can curve this. Okay, so here we go. Back. Maybe I just make a zigzagged course. Okay. Maybe make a W looking guy, but this is helpful because it allows me to create my own, I want that one to go a little bit further. Create my own shape in my own way, but I can fill it as I please. You cannot do this with other lines once again. So that is difficult. This is also very good to create with the colors. Or create your characters, also a very good tool. Polyline, good tool. Okay, select, delete. Now let's talk about Scribble. Scribble, you have to hold down your cursor and you are drawing anything that you want. Now let's see if we can connect the Scribble. See, the Scribble does not allow you to fill in your shape. It is simply the line itself. So mess with this. Maybe you are doing the, yep. I'll be done in a minute. And these are the tools that you can use. We will go on and I will show you some more advanced tools in the next video.